ag-retailers.org. All right, we are here in Boca Raton, Florida, and we are here for the Ag Retailers Association Convention. And as I've been mentioning, the theme for this year's meeting is sustainability. And one of the featured speakers this morning, joining us now, is Hope-Johnstone, PepsiCo Director of Ag Sustainability. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, everybody.
Appreciate you being with us. How does PepsiCo define sustainability?
Sustainability is certainly a big look into the future, and what we need to make sure of is that we can secure sustainably the raw materials that we want well into the next decade and the decade after that.
Now, PepsiCo, major food company, how do you address these issues when it comes to what you expect from the growers and suppliers of the raw products for your products?
I think sustainability depends on a greater visibility of what's going on in the supply chain to make sure that those inputs and the practices that the farmers employ at the crop level are done in the most effective and efficient way possible. That's way that we can make sure that the ingredients that the farmer uses is available for future generations as well, and I'm talking about natural resources like water and soil, but also the agricultural inputs that are manufactured like fertilizers and agrochemicals are done and used in an appropriate way.
You made a comment to the group here today, which I really took note of, because I've often been suspicious that some food companies view the sustainability issue as a marketing opportunity more than a real concern about the environment. And you mentioned that your company, you're not using it as a marketing issue.
The prime objective for me in looking at sustainability within the corporation is to make sure we do that sustainability sourcing, as I reiterated my earlier comments. I think the consumer will be greatly aware with what's going on with regards to where the food comes from, and that is an old story with regards to traceability, quality assurance and everything. The prime driver for us is to make sure we actually secure those raw materials into the future.
Let's look at this, how you see this moving forward. We're seeing more concerns raised, more questions asked by consumers about their food, what's in it, where it comes from, those types of things. What in turn do you think the ag producers in the United States and around the world will need to do to provide them the answers that will allow both to be happy when it's all said and done?
Well, I think you've got to go back to that word I used before, which is visibility. And this is where PepsiCo's desire to put a farm verification program in is part of that process. That nothing more than creates interest in what the farmer is doing today, understands the status and the practices he's using and where he is up to, and trying to work collaboratively, because we are a contract-based company, to make sure we make the necessary improvements to make that position improved for tomorrow.
We're talking with Hope-Johnstone, PepsiCo Director of Ag Sustainability here at the Ag Retailers Association Convention in Boca Raton, Florida. Okay, here's the big two questions, I guess. Can we feed 7 to 9 billion people around the world? And two, can we do it in a way that allows our farm producers, our food producers, to also be profitable and for it to be economically sustainable for them?
I think I'm an optimist, and I think obviously the global remit I have says that there are very positive signs out there. As far as Western agriculture, I think there's a lot of research that says that the crops are not meeting their true potential. I think there are management practices that are well known of that can be improved on, and if you just go around the halls of the exhibitors here today, you can see the technology ramp up being quite significant in helping precision farming. The other area is clearly a lot of this population sits in with the developing world, the smallholder farmer that perhaps farms less than 1 hectare or 1 acre. And I think that the opportunity for Western agriculture is translate some of those efficiency measures through both public and private cooperation to make sure that they play their role and be able to increase the productivity that they have, and in turn obviously make sure that they have food security as well.
Many point to the benefits we're receiving from biotechnology and the ability to grow more on fewer acres or to produce more on less than ideal conditions with the weather problems we face each year and seem to be growing in magnitude each year. But yet there are critics of that technology and calls for more labeling or in some cases to eliminate those kind of products altogether, and which leads to the question, how does a company like yours, PepsiCo, view biotech products, and how do you see that role playing out in the future?
Science will play a very important role in putting this agenda together. And I think PepsiCo is a greater investor, both directly and indirectly, into the scientific community. So we would promote that further investment, again, by private and public entities, to make sure we get the right minds working on the right things to produce, let's call it, tools and practices that the farmer can implement at the farm gate, no matter what geography he finds himself in.
It seems like there's a struggle here. I mean, we have the need to feed all these people, but there are agendas at play that would almost cripple the system that could feed them, and a lot of people caught in between here. How do you see that playing out?
I think basically the food industry at large is looking at more collaborative efforts, and I think PepsiCo is willing to work in the wider food industry to make sure that there is consistency. PepsiCo will not be able to solve the entire agenda itself, and so therefore we must depend on a collaborative approach, particularly at the base level. I'm talking about the pre-competitive area, where we do collaboratively look at how to streamline some of the information we require, stop the levels of duplication, and put our focused areas into the things that really matter. And that's where this visibility through things like the farm verification program will give tremendous focus for the scientists and, let's call it, a lot of the other stakeholders involved in this agenda to actually get to where we need to get to.
A lot of consumers are asking questions about where their food comes from, but many of them are asking even more questions about why is it costing so much right now, or costing them more than it had in the past. Now, even though here in the United States we enjoy the the least cost of any country in the world, really, when it comes to buying our food, as far as percentage of our disposable income, there are concerns about rising food costs even in this country. How do you view where we're headed in that regard as a food producer?
I think ag inflation is a reality that the farming community obviously has to deal with, and obviously it's been driven by some macro factors. But you're right, is that the when you look at the food index particularly, is that it has been rising quite dramatically, particularly over the last 3 to 4 years. And it's not so much the level of increase, it's the measure of volatility that's actually happening. And therefore that is directly affecting the farmer's ability to plan his crop cycling. And I think companies like ourselves will be looking at cementing further our relationship with farmers and the geographies that we source their materials in, to put some levels of stability in there as well, so that we can get some of this this planning process, and that's where some improvements will be able to be made.
You talked about some of the challenges that the farmers are certainly familiar with, water being a key challenge, weather volatility. That's really been a challenge in the last few years especially.
Particularly in the US, obviously based in the UK we have our own challenges and our own weather events, but I was surprised to find just how much America is experiencing these climatic events, and they have a huge impact on obviously yields, which then in turn obviously when margins are tight, you actually have the revenue streams being affected to the farmers and their ability to plan forward. So it's very important that the sustainability looks at not just the environmental aspects, but the social and economic, where some of these other factors are captured.
And finally, I think a lot of farmers, a lot of producers are concerned that food companies are going to more and more dictate to them what they have to do or how they have to go about it. Is your approach more, we want to work together with farmers?
Very definitely. We have to work with farmers. We understand that everybody will start off at a different base level, and therefore what we're interested in is making sure that our supply chain demonstrates continuous improvement. That's critical. Obviously, by benchmarking and measuring, we'll be able to understand how high some of the production areas can get in meeting some of these increased performance standards. But what we're looking for is continuous improvement across every geography, every crop.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
All right. That is Ian Hope-Johnstone, PepsiCo's Director of Ag Sustainability and one of the speakers here at the ARA conference in Boca Raton, Florida. And again, a key issue. Interesting to get the perspective of a major food company, how they look at the sustainability issue, how they look at their relationship with farmers as we go about this great challenge, try to meet this challenge of feeding this growing world population. All right, we'll take our final break. When we come back, we'll talk more about some of the sustainability issues being addressed here in the state of Florida and some of the other key agricultural issues, as we'll talk with Florida's Commissioner of Agriculture. That's coming up next. Stay with us. This is Agritalk.